A concern for so many people starting on their art career is, what if my art isn't good enough? But what is good art really? And it can be so overwhelming to even decide where the starting point for your art journey is. Hopefully with this video, I'll be able to give you some tips, tricks, and advice that are going to bring out the best artist in you. Hi there, I'm Redzy. I make comics and I talk comics. And I notice a lot of beginning artists forget how little of the process they get to see from their favorite artists. Even ones that post on YouTube and give all these updates, there is still years and years of work that has gone into what these people create that you have never seen. And it's easy to forget, especially with how social media really emphasizes likes and engagement. Doing all of this takes a long time. Years of trying to understand yourself, understand your art, and none of that really makes for good content. The people that you look up to were given a lot of breathing room to make mistakes, get better, and you need to let that be true for yourself as well. There's no way that you're going to improve by just stressing out all the time of wondering when things are finally going to click. Because personally, I always get the handle on things when I am taking care of myself, taking breaks, doing things just for personal enjoyment, trying to stay offline fairly often. Because at least for me, it is very draining to be in the presence of people all the time. And I need to take time for myself to recharge and let ideas come naturally instead of trying to force things into a shape that they just don't want to be in. The best art doesn't come from struggle. It comes from having time to process things that you've been through. And you're not able to do that if you are constantly finding ways to push yourself and not let the lessons that you're learning really sink in and take effect. Another thing for finding what kind of art you want to make is knowing who you're going to be communicating with. Certain styles work for certain kinds of stories, and knowing where this art is going to make a massive difference on the reception. Is this going to social media? Is it going to an art gallery? All of these are going to influence the shape of your art immensely. This isn't to say that you can't experiment or try several kinds of art, but most likely if you're wanting to be an artist, you have a project in mind that you want to make. Knowing the shape of the work is going to inform your path as a creative because the medium is the message. Illustrators are very good at illustrating, but I cannot then take an illustrator and have them work on a comic or an animated series unless they are just an absolute go-getter. A lot of the skills, while similar, might not transfer over, and so you need to be clear to yourself about what kind of journey you want to start on. I knew I wanted to make comics. I started researching by reading several different kinds of comics, anything that I could find, and so I could really get a grasp on what people are reacting to currently, and also just trying to get some art history in, because knowing your space and what has come before is going to help you understand the context of modern stories, instead of just diving right into what's popular and only reading that, because there might be a lot of ideas that are present in modern work that you have no clue where they're from. They could be a very old tradition, they could be an homage or a reference to something. And so knowing some history in your medium is going to give you a great footing and help you know where to take your work, because you can see the medium itself that you're wanting to work in evolve over time. You'll also be able to find some direct inspirations and start building up a reference library. Drawing from life with real human bodies and real objects in the world is important, but I also think a helpful way to understand that real life reference is to be collecting stylized references, because you can place the stylized work next to a similar reference of a real object and understand why the artist made the decisions that they made to change the form into something more expressive or subtle, and it'll give you a sense of how to start doing that yourself. The best way to really improve your art style is to know your existing limits. Art style is a very subjective thing because because good is very subjective. When people talk about a good art style, what they really mean is an appealing art style. And appealing does not necessarily need to be technically proficient. And that's something that I really latched onto when I was starting out, because it is hard not to compare yourself to either your references that you're currently using or to other artists. And taking a backseat to that comparison and really just focusing on, do I like looking at this image? Is this an interesting design? Do I like this panel? Am I feeling good about the art that I've made? Then I do not care about the comparison. When you're starting as a beginner, you do not want to get stuck in beginning stages, redoing and redoing, trying to find some way to make one image the best it could possibly be. What you want to make is 1,000 images of varying quality, because if you learn just one thing from each image that you draw, then you are going to be 1,000 times more knowledgeable than if you're going to redraw the same image 1,000 times. That's why I do think that comics are a very helpful learning tool. I'm not saying you have to make comics, but looking at how comics are made compared to other mediums, you are forced to continually move forward and build sequential images that will be very different to each other. They're all telling a story, they're all focusing on different aspects of drawing, and then combining it all together to make a greater whole. And I think that is a very important thing to keep in mind, is that everything that you're doing is building somewhere, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment. It's easy to get bogged down in the now. This kind of slow buildup that art gives is just not how our brains work, especially in the modern day where everyone is really wanting instant gratification. If the work itself is fulfilling to you, that's what you should be focusing on when you're a beginning artist, because that's going to get you through the hurdle into being an intermediate artist and really coming into your own. Everyone is just so excited when they start that they really just want to go for it, and knowing how to take your time is really the hardest part of all of this. In a few years, you're not going to be the same person that you are right now, and you may not be interested in the same things, so to just stay in the immediate with projects that you can finish in a timely manner instead of planning for these very long projects is also a big benefit, because it keeps you always in sight of the goal. That's when you're really going to start to get demotivated, is by taking forever to work on a single project and just see no one really paying attention to you, or wanting to have that success, really wanting to reach for it, but just feeling stuck. But you're in your own environment. You made this project. You can decide how it goes and when to stop it, when to pick it back up again, because no story is off the table unless you sign some contract with the studio. And if you do that, then I guess you've already made it. Another thing to keep in mind is how much time that you have to work on your art. If you only have a couple hours every day, then you are definitely going to want to consider a simpler art style, because otherwise you're going to spend a lot of time on a single project, and you don't want to do that. You want to start really going and getting through as much as you can, as quickly as you can. I would recommend, instead of looking at finished pieces from your favorite artists, consider finding their sketch work to get a better grasp of their process and also where they've come from. That'll just give you confidence to keep pushing on and making more work, because you know that your favorite creators did the same thing and probably felt the same ways that you do right now about their own work that you think is a masterpiece, but they probably have a lot of things to say about it. You need to remember that you're the one determining your art style, and it is not defined by your current self. It is defined by how you're engaging with it. Instead of just looking at it and comparing, you need to be specific about what things in your art you're not satisfied with, what needs to be improved, and being honest but helpful with yourself is the best way to go about it, instead of thinking, oh, this is terrible, I'll never improve, and really bringing yourself down. Balancing out the criticism with positives is how you're actually going to listen to yourself and improve, instead of just shutting down because you're getting a lot of feedback in your head of, oh, this is bad, I need to stop right now, it's just not working. No one can be a failure, they can just fail, and failing is a natural part of life. You should accept it, because it is going to teach you a lot of things and help you grow as a creative, as a person. And you'll just become much happier with yourself once you can learn how to give yourself criticism fairly and helpfully. That can also help you give criticism to others by knowing how best to phrase things, what kinds of things to be looking for, and how to foster a healthy environment that people want to stick around in and keep learning from. Please subscribe and like the video. That is going to be it for me. If you have any questions, topics they want me to cover, anything that you want me to clarify, please leave a comment below. If you want more videos from me, they're going to be displayed right here. All of my comics are going to be linked in the description, as well as my Patreon. If you want to support me on either of those platforms, that would be such a big help. I would thank you so much. And I hope to see you very soon, and hopefully you'll be a little bit further in your art career the next time that we meet. Have a good one.